Arrival at Terra Nova Academy. Terra Nova Academy loomed like a monument to interstellar unity, suspended in orbit above Elter Prime. A hub of knowledge and discipline, it brought together cadets from across the galactic concord to train, learn, and become soldiers not of species, but of ideals. Towering domes housed gravity-neutral sparring zones, multi-atmosphere living quarters, and one building strictly off-limits until orientation was complete, the Earth Cultural Studies Hall. Cattell blinked slowly as his transport docked. His smooth green skin glistened faintly under the artificial lights. A Valari from the ocean world of Kalyan, he moved with a swimmer's grace but thought like a mathematician. He'd studied every known military doctrine before arriving, analyzing war as if it were a logic puzzle. Humans, though, defied categorization. Their history was chaotic, bloody, and, more than anything, unpredictable. He was not alone in that curiosity or concern. Are they really that dangerous? Silly whispered, her voice a soft vibration. The Saurian cadet's compound eyes scanned the landing bay nervously. Her thin frame quivered, a biological reflex from her species' evolutionary aversion to conflict. Rennick laughed, a deep, resonant sound like gravel rolling in a drum. Towering over the other cadets, the Borghan warrior's tusked grin showed no fear. Humans? Dangerous, yes, but no more than a fire. You respect it, control it, and it warms your world. Fear it, and it burns you alive. Such poetry from someone who wears bones as medals, Cattell muttered. They were ushered into formation by a stern Terran officer, Lieutenant Commander Hale. Tall, angular, and scarred across one cheek, he radiated a quiet intensity. Welcome to Terra Nova, Hale began, his voice sharp and precise. You are the best of your worlds. Here, you'll learn what it takes to serve something bigger than your own flag. The galactic concord is fragile, and peace is not given, it is enforced. The cadets stood stiffly, some shifting their weight, others trying to read Hale's tone. He continued, Tomorrow, you begin simulations. Today, we start with context, history, specifically Earth's. A ripple passed through the group. Sir, a cadet from the Avinari contingent raised a feathered hand. I've heard Earth's military history is intense. Hale met the cadet's eyes. You've heard right, and what you see tomorrow will not be censored. War isn't a clean story. It never was. But Earth's past is part of our present and your future. Later that evening, in the dormitory hall assigned to non-Terran cadets, the tension thickened. They're going to show us their wars, Silly whispered, coiling in on herself on her perch. Real ones. The kind with casualties. Good, Rennick grunted, dropping his duffel with a thud. We fight. We should know what fighting looks like. There's a difference between fighting and annihilation, Cattell said, folding his hands behind his back. Earth's record shows a pattern. Escalation beyond necessity. Biological warfare. Nuclear fallout. Weaponized psychology. They didn't stop because they evolved. They stopped because they nearly eradicated themselves. Rennick looked at him with narrowed eyes. And yet they survived. You think that makes them dangerous. I think it makes them worthy of respect. Cattell turned to the holoscreen embedded in the dorm wall. It displayed news from across the galaxy, including a clip from a recent human-led rescue operation on a collapsed asteroid mine. The humans were calm, focused, fearless, even as the structure trembled above them. Tomorrow, we find out, he said quietly. Rennick gave a slow nod. You're not afraid of the humans, are you? Cattell didn't answer at first. I'm not afraid of them. I'm afraid of what it means if they're the standard we have to live up to. That night, sleep came slowly. Some cadets meditated. Others whispered in their own tongues. A few filed quiet resignation requests, only to delete them minutes later. The lecture was mandatory. The footage, uncensored. The implications, unknown. One thing was certain. Tomorrow would not be just a history lesson. It would be a reckoning. The screening. The auditorium lights dimmed, and a hush settled like fog over the assembled cadets. Dozens of species filled the lecture hall. Chitin clicked, scales shifted, antennae twitched. All eyes faced forward, toward the curved hollow wall, that now shimmered with the seal of the Terran United Archives. Lieutenant Commander Hale stood beside the console. He didn't speak a word. He only nodded once to the AI technician, and the footage began. A title faded in. Humanity, the Price of Survival. Act I, The Early Wars. The screen erupted into movement. Black and white film of charging infantry. Smoke curling over crater trenches. Explosions painting the earth in mud and blood. A human voice narrated. In the Great War, over 20 million perished. And we called it the war to end all wars. Gas masks filled the screen, featureless, insectal. A battlefield covered in corpses, some still twitching. In the audience, Silly recoiled, her mandibles clicking erratically. Then came Hiroshima, the silence before the blast, the blinding white flash. The sound came after, a deep, rising pressure that vibrated through the floor. Some cadets covered their ears. Cottel sat rigid, eyes locked forward. Rennick didn't flinch. The narrator continued, almost mournfully. We crossed a line. We became the first to harness the atom, not for energy, but for extinction. Act 2, War Without End. The next segment moved rapidly. Color footage, shaky and visceral, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Bosnia. A blur of uniforms, languages, ideologies. Guerrilla warfare, drone strikes, children in war zones. Scenes flash faster now. Tanks rolling over cities. Helicopters spinning through jungles. Troops shouting, bleeding, dying. Then the faces, soldiers weeping. Refugees marching. Parents holding children in the rubble. Cottel found himself analyzing it, almost against his will. The logistics, the improvisation, the ruthless efficiency. But also the human emotion, raw and unfiltered. Why film this? Why share it? Then the screen cut to a human soldier dragging a wounded enemy to safety, shielding them with his own body. The narrator's voice returned. War taught us who we were, not just killers, but protectors. We learned too slowly, too late, but we learned. Act 3, The Modern Age. Suddenly, sleek machinery filled the screen, drones, orbital defense satellites, cyber warfare units. A speculative projection of near-future Earth conflicts. Unmanned tanks, AI targeting systems, hypersonic missiles. But then the tone shifted. A soldier with one leg climbed a rubble-strewn hill to carry out a wounded comrade. An officer refused an order to fire on civilians. A group of war veterans turned anti-war educators in classrooms. Our machines grew smarter. We had to grow wiser. We had to remember what it cost us. The closing montage. Soft music swelled. The final segment showed humanity not in war, but in healing. Veterans planting trees in former battlegrounds. Old enemies shaking hands. Human aid workers in alien war zones, offering medicine and rebuilding homes. Children, human and alien, playing under a flag stitched from the banners of every species in the Concord. The narrator spoke one last time. We are not proud of our wars, but we do not hide them, because peace built on ignorance is no peace at all. The screen faded to black. Lieutenant Commander Hale stepped forward. The lights rose slowly. No one moved. He looked across the room, his face unreadable. Questions. No one spoke. A young Alkari cadet suddenly stood and stumbled out of the room, antennae quivering. Moments later, a trio from the Draxian contingent followed, silent and pale. Then Rennick stood. He turned to Hale. Permission to speak. Granted, Hale said. That, Rennick said slowly, was the most honorable thing I've ever seen. Not the killing, the remembering. He sat. Silly was trembling. She whispered to Cottel. They recorded everything, even their shame. Cottel nodded, his throat dry, because they knew someone would have to understand it. Someday, more cadets filed out, some in silence, some requesting immediate reassignment. Others lingered, frozen in their seats, wrestling with what they had seen. Tomorrow, the academy would return to drills and exercises. But nothing would be the same. The fallout. The day after the screening, the mess hall was silent. No clatter of trays, no cross-species chatter, no trading of rations. The only sound was the low hum of the filtration units. Normally, a few human instructors sat among the cadets. Today, they kept their distance. Silly hadn't touched her food. Her multifaceted eyes were dulled. Her limbs curled inward protectively. "I file my withdrawal," she said softly, her voice nearly lost in the ambient hum. Cattell looked up. "I thought you wanted to be part of the diplomatic corps." "I did, but if diplomacy fails, and that is what I'd be ordered to support, I can't." Her voice trembled. "I understand now why the Saurian avoided conflict for centuries. We're not made for that kind of memory." Across the room, Rennick sat upright, proudly displaying his Borghan battle crest. He looked even larger than usual, surrounded by empty seats. "You're running from knowledge," he said, loud enough to be heard across several tables. "Not the war. The truth." Silly flinched. Cattell raised a hand. "There's no honor in forcing someone to serve under ideas they can't reconcile with." "She's not afraid. She's awake." Rennick grunted, but said nothing more. Later that afternoon, the dormitory walls echoed with arguments. One of the Avinari cadets declared the footage propaganda. A Zalari file shared a resignation petition. Heated debates broke out in every hallway, not about if what they saw was true, but whether it had a place in the academy at all. Cattell kept mostly silent, watching, listening, calculating. That evening, he found himself standing before Lieutenant Commander Hale's office. He rang the chime. "Enter." The room was Spartan. A desk, a hollow map of the Concorde, and a single framed photograph. A human soldier standing in the ruins of a village, carrying a small alien child. "You watched the footage again," Hale said, not looking up from his datapad. Cattell nodded. "Twice." And Cattell stepped forward. "I want to understand." Hale set the pad down and leaned back. "What exactly? Why you showed us?" "Unfiltered. You could have made us respect your history without showing every atrocity." "We don't want respect," Hale said. "We want truth. If you're going to serve beside us, you need to know what that means. No illusions. No glory." Cattell hesitated. "And if it drives some of us away, then it means you were never meant to hold a rifle beside us," Hale replied, voice even. "We're not asking you to love what we've done, only to understand what shaped us." Cattell sat uninvited. "Your history is illogical. Destructive." "Yes, but you survived." "Barely." Cattell's voice lowered. "Is that your strength? That you refuse to die, no matter what you became?" Hale looked at him for a long time. "Maybe, but survival isn't the lesson. Changes. We don't celebrate those wars. We carry them. On our backs, in our books, in our silence. If there's power in our past, it's that we never let ourselves forget it." There was a long silence. Then Cattell stood and saluted, not out of protocol, but something else. "Thank you, Commander." As he left, he passed Rennick in the corridor. The Borghan gave him a sideways glance. "You staying?" Cattell nodded. "I thought I was here to learn war. Turns out I'm here to learn history." Rennick chuckled. "History is just war with better editors." Cattell gave a rare smile. "Unless you're human, then it's unedited trauma." They walked together down the corridor. Around them, the academy carried on, quieter, smaller, but still functioning. That night, a new list appeared on the academy network, cadets reassigned or withdrawn. Almost exactly half the alien recruits had left the program. But the ones who remained, Cattell, Rennick, and a few dozen others, weren't just survivors of the experience. They were changed by it. They didn't see humans as monsters. They saw them as something more dangerous. Warnings. Red sand exercise. The simulation dome's interior shimmered into life, transforming from sterile metal walls to a vast red desert, one modeled after Mars' Hellas Basin. Twin suns projected overhead. Jagged rock formations cast long shadows. It was a combat test, but not with weapons. This was about command under pressure. The remaining cadets stood in two squads, each assigned a mission: rescue civilians under fire while coordinating logistics and avoiding civilian casualties. They were told that the simulation was based on a real Earth conflict, though no further details were given. Cattell adjusted his visor, now calibrated for Terran dust storms. Across from him, Rennick cracked his knuckles, already mentally planning an aggressive assault route. Silly, surprisingly, had stayed, not in the field unit, but as part of the mobile command team. "I can't fight," she'd said to Cautel that morning, "but I can help others survive it." He'd respected that deeply. The countdown timer began. 00:10, 00:09, 00:08. Then the world roared to life. Gunfire crackled through the simulation as enemy drones emerged from hidden crevices. The terrain shook with targeted blasts. Civilian biosignatures blinked on the tactical HUD. Cautel's squad took cover behind a rust-colored ridge. "Targeting drones, northeast. 2 civilians in the blast radius," he called out. "I see them," Rennick growled, sprinting forward like a battering ram. Cautel started calling back, but it was too late. Rennick tore through a drone, shielding a simulated mother and child beneath his frame. He grunted as a virtual round tore across his shoulder, sparks and pain sensors flaring. Silly's voice came through the comms. "Evac drop point updated. North Ridge. 20 seconds. Cautel nodded, dragging the civilians toward the extraction point. "We're moving. I need cover fire." Another cadet, a Delvani named Suvo, launched a smoke beacon. They moved as a unit. Tight. Focused. Their actions mirrored countless Earth rescue ops. Fast decision-making, moral calculus in seconds. But the enemy wasn't just random drones. This sim had insurgents, enemy combatants who looked like civilians, who didn't always shoot first, who tested the cadets' restraint. The final challenge came when the second squad reported a suspected weapons cache inside a crumbling outpost, occupied by unarmed NPCs. "We can't take chances," the second squad leader said. "We neutralized the threat." "Negative," Cautel said sharply over the joint comms. "Scan first. Minimal force. You don't know they're hostiles." "I don't have to. I know what happens when you guess wrong." There was a pause. Then the second squad backed off, conducted a full scan, and found nothing but medical supplies. The evac was completed. No civilian casualties. 2 wounded cadets. 4 drones destroyed. The simulation shut down. The red desert dissolved into gray steel once more. Hale stood at the observation platform above them. "Not bad," he said, voice amplified. "One of the better first runs. 2 points deducted for unnecessary exposure to fire, but overall, restraint, precision, and cohesion. What I care about most." Rennick limped over, armor scorched. "Did we pass?" Hale's lips twitched. "You passed the test. But that wasn't what I was grading." He descended the stairs slowly, walking among them. "I watched how you reacted under pressure. You saw threats not just as targets, but as variables. Unknowns. That's the hardest part of command, deciding when not to act." Silly spoke up. "Was it real? That mission?" Hale turned to her. "Mosul, Earth, 2047, 200 dead in the real version. Only 8 civilians survived. The difference?" The commander on the ground chose certainty over patience. Silence hung heavy. Cautel stepped forward. "That's why you showed us the footage first." "Yes," Hale replied. "Because the most dangerous soldier is the one who only knows victory. The most responsible one is the soldier who remembers the cost." Silly whispered, "We fought a ghost today." Hale looked at her with something like pride. "No, you fought a mistake, and you chose not to repeat it." The cadets dispersed quietly. No cheering, no celebration. Cautel found himself back in his dormitory that night, staring out the observation window. The stars shimmered beyond, indifferent and vast. He'd come here to master the art of war. Instead, he was learning something far harder, how to carry it. And as he lay down to rest, the ghost of Earth's past still lingered. But now, it felt less like a warning, and more like a burden he had chosen to bear.